Mr. Minister, Assistant Secretary General, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to address the 2017 Bucharest Forum. Regrettably, there's still, every day I discover how much more I need to learn about Romania and the regional context in order to best perform my duties, but I'm trying, I continue to try. And thank you for that encouragement, Alina. What I'd like to focus on are the threats that the transatlantic community faces and Romania's very, very positive contributions to addressing those threats. Russia's aggressive actions in the Black Sea region, starting with its conflict with Georgia in 2008, its support of Ukrainian separatists in eastern Ukraine, and its illegal occupation of Crimea in 2014, its massive militarization of that peninsula, all have created great concerns to Romania and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. We also have the ongoing civil war in Syria to the south and the humanitarian tragedies that it has created, including millions of refugees streaming into Turkey and Europe. Even Romania, a country that has been relatively insulated from the refugee crisis, is now seeing an uptick, a significant uptick in the number of asylum seekers traveling to and through Romania, many by boat via the Black Sea. There are also increased tensions in the Balkans, uncertainties in the Republic of Moldova, and Russian interventions in elections in my country and in many other democracies. What has been our response? First, since Russia began its aggression in eastern Ukraine, NATO has taken steps to ensure that its Article 5 commitment is ironclad. At the Wales Summit, we created a readiness action plan to help rapidly deploy forces anywhere they may be needed. NATO created new institutions like NATO Force Integration Units in each of the eastern flank states, the multinational Corps headquarters in Poland, and the multinational division headquarters southeast here in Romania. It also created the Very High Readiness Joint Task Force, a spearhead force of around 5,000 troops that can deploy on short notice. At the Warsaw Summit, NATO leaders decided it was important to do more to bring additional deterrent value to the southeastern flank. In addition to the enhanced forward presence battalions that NATO established in Poland and the Baltic states, NATO also created what is known as tailored forward presence to help protect Black Sea allies. Romania was a leader in establishing these initiatives. First, it dedicated an entire brigade from its land forces to form the core of a multinational brigade. To date, Poland has committed to sending a company of infantry soldiers to the brigade. Bulgaria, Portugal, Italy, and Germany have also affiliated a battalion of troops that will travel to Romania once a year for training and exercises. An air policing element was created and fulfilled by the United Kingdom, Canada, and Portugal, and will soon include Polish air assets. NATO has also established a maritime coordination element for the Black Sea that will be based at NATO Maritime Command in Northwood in the United Kingdom. The United States returned a 3rd Brigade combat team to Europe, this time an armored one, to be deployed to eastern flank states on a persistent rotational basis. The 1st Battalion of this brigade just departed its headquarters at Mihail Cogălnicianu military base and will be replaced by a 2nd Battalion later this month. Several times a year, this brigade will come together along the eastern flank as a cohesive unit to train and exercise, demonstrating to any potential adversary that we have the ability to quickly coalesce our forces across national boundaries to meet any contingency. Finally, the United States government has provided a 4-fold increase in European Deterrence Initiative funding. This now $3.4 billion annual investment into European security enables more U.S. military personnel and assets to deploy to Central and Eastern Europe. It will also allow us to pre-position equipment on the European continent, allow for improvements in the military infrastructure of our allies, and help us build NATO ally and select partner countries' military capabilities. With these resources, we have built critical infrastructure at Câmpiătârzi Air Base, Mihai Cogniceanu Air Base, and at Cincu Combat Training Center, among other locations. It is at these locations where the vast majority of our military-to-military engagements with Romania take place. Romania has also taken very seriously the need to modernize its armed forces. This year, Romania's parliament budgeted 2% of GDP for defense spending, hitting the NATO goal established at the Wales summit several years ago. When it spends this money, Romania will be one of only 6 NATO countries to reach this very critical target. The United States recognizes that this was no easy lift for the government of Romania. It had to forego other critical needs and increase defense spending by nearly 50%. Romania's actions and the sacrifice they meant have not gone unnoticed in either Washington nor Brussels, and Romania is being held up as a model for the NATO alliance of what can be done for our common security. This year, Romania hopes to purchase one of 7 Patriot Advanced Capability surface-to-air defense systems. Starting your modernization with air defense makes a lot of sense. An enemy rolling tanks or infantry soldiers across your borders is not the most likely scenario, even though it cannot be entirely discounted. But in compared to an enemy launching a limited or unlimited air attack against Romania, that is much more likely. Romania took a positive step in the right direction a few years ago when it purchased 12 F-16s from Portugal. Replacing Romania's aging fleet of MiG-21s with a modern 4th-generation fighter was a necessity. We are now working closely with the Ministry of National Defense to support the acquisition of more F-16s with the intent of possibly conducting the midlife upgrade work here in Romania. In the meantime, Romania needs a modern, credible, layered air defense system, and the Patriot is the best choice for many reasons. First, the Patriot is capable of providing defense against all types of airborne threats, including aircraft, cruise missiles, and certain ballistic missiles. Second, the Patriot has been the U.S. Army system of record, which is another way of saying that we have used this system for 30 years, which means it does not mean it is antiquated, but rather that it is battle-tested and highly effective. Third, since it is the U.S. Army system of record, it makes it more interoperable with U.S. forces. Fourth, joining the Patriot family puts Romania in an elite group of 12 other nations, which enables all to share research and development costs and to ensure that the Patriot system remains extremely effective against new types of airborne threats well into the future. Fifth, this purchase from Raytheon can directly benefit Romania's economy. Like the minister said, Romanian politicians rightly want to use the increase in their defense budget to rebuild Romania's once great defense industry. American industry is eager to work with the Romanian defense industry, as this type of cooperation will only strengthen Romania and our strategic partnership. In sum, Romania has been an outstanding ally and partner to the United States and NATO. Romania has been in Afghanistan from the beginning of the NATO mission there and is now the 4th largest NATO troop contributor to Resolute support. As the United States looks to slightly expand our footprint there, the Romanian government is also considering sending more troops to the mission to bring security and stability to Afghanistan. In Iraq, Romania has committed to deploying 50 gendarme police trainers to help the Iraqi authorities win the peace as ISIS is dislodged and defeated in the country. And closer to home, Romania continues to keep over 50 troops deployed to the NATO mission in Kosovo, something that is very much appreciated and welcomed. If I might indulge myself and ask for a bit of time, I'd like to take a short historical journey. This past Monday, I was at Alexandru Ioan Cuza University in Iași to help celebrate the launch of the Romanian academic year. It was a beautiful, warm, early autumn day. The campus was radiant. The students seemed very excited to launch themselves into a new school year. Exactly, almost to the day, 100 years before I arrived in Iași this last Monday, one of my predecessors as ambassador to Romania also arrived in Iași. Charles Copica, a wealthy businessman from Chicago, became the minister to Romania, Bulgaria, and Serbia in 1913. A wealthy businessman, which points to an interesting historic fact that political appointee or non-career appointees as American ambassadors is nothing new. In 1916, Romania entered the First World War and unfortunately suffered grievously against the German army, which invested Bucharest by December of 1916. Copica, my predecessor, stayed on, as he was also the representative to Serbia and Bulgaria, in Bucharest until early 1917, but at that point the German military forces expelled him from the country. He returned to Washington, and after a brief period of consultations, the American government sent him back to Romania to take up his diplomatic mission. By this time, the royal family, King Ferdinand, Queen Maria, as well as the government, had relocated to Iași. To return to Romania was not a difficult undertaking by the summer of 1917. Copica had to go from Washington across the entire United States to San Francisco, then by boat to Yokohama, then by another boat to Vladivostok, and then he traveled across all of Siberia to finally return to Iași on September 17th, 1917, 100 years before I was there last Monday. He found an entirely different Iași than I did. It had grown by 3 times in terms of population compared to its size prior to World War I. Of course, the new government, or the government having relocated to Iași, contributed to that size, that expansion in population, but what really drove it was more than 200,000 refugees and wounded soldiers pouring into Iași, trying to avoid conflict both on the Russian front as well as the front along the Maramureș-Focșani line in Romania. There was very little food, little water, little medical supplies, and typhus raged throughout the city. So compared to what Copica found, and compared to what I saw in Iași on Monday, in Romania, at peace with all of its neighbors, firmly embedded in the transatlantic community, as well as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, as well as the European Union, enjoying the fastest economic growth in all of the European Union and increasing prosperity at home. That comparison, that Copica or the comparison in experience that Copica had and that I had, could not be more stark, and in my case, could not be more welcome. Thank you for your patience.